Good day out there. I had a very beautiful and brilliant discussion with two of my kids, one of 17 and other of 15. I was in a very great state. We had a discussion about destiny. I wanted to have an hour with them where we talked about karma as presented by Manly B. Hall. And I only let them listen to 5 minutes of that long lecture because I wanted it just as an inspiration that everything has consequences. When you do not do things according to your nature and according to how nature is, things can go wrong for you and become ori, and it will turn against you. So everything has a kind of cause and effect, activity and consequence of that activity. So I wanted them to listen to that and know that their life can be shaped according to that measure of karma. But then my youngest of the two sitting around the table, he took us on a discussion about destiny because he said, well, in the end, I will say it simply, it's all destiny. And both I and his elder brother agreed and disagreed. We agreed that life seems to be destined by some things that's just there for us, before us, and has been put around us. And we can mention our family, our homes, our lives as they are. We can mention the parents we got and what kind of resources we've got in life, how much money do we have a place to be, do you have a car, are you living in a big town, do you owe something or don't you, are you connected or not, do you open your eyes to poverty or to rich environments, and so on. So we agree that a lot seems to be kind of pre-given destiny, but we argued against the determination that we seem to hear in his speech. And he said, well, even if that guy acts according to karma and karma hits him or benefits him, it's destiny. And we said, yeah, it can be said like that everything is a kind of destiny anyway. But does that mean that you don't have a choice or free will to act in a certain way or limit? He said even the free will and act hides in it a kind of determination, a kind of destiny. And he kept repeating that, and we tried to give many examples, and he kept taking us back to the same point. My other son gave him an example of three circles. He said, look, destiny is surrounding everything, but inside it, when you are born and given the things you have, you can affect that destiny back. You can do things, work hard, train yourself, walk in a certain direction, and you can affect that destiny back. This is the belief of my elder son, and I told him that that's quite reasonable. And he said, yeah, but even while you're affecting that back, it's all destiny. If it's not meant for you to affect it, you will never do. And if it's not meant for you to break out of your conditions and become a better person, you will never think of doing it. So we could hear he had a very strong argument. What meant a lot to me as a father is that these two young men whom I'm trying to shelter from these big thoughts, because I think it's too early. I believe in the old classic philosophy of the Greeks and also in the major religions that you should educate children to a certain limit, but do not overburden their brains with big questions until they become mature. They should be focused on physical training. They could focus on how to build themselves with a handcraft, know how to do stuff in reality, how to cook, how to fight, how to ride a horse, how to drive a car, how to become something useful before you start thinking of these big questions. But anyhow, it seems they had a philosophical discussion. I was part of it, of course. That was very hilarious, and I laughed several times because I told my youngest son, say, you are speaking like the old philosophers who had a school of thought called determination, that destiny is encapsulating everything, and the God behind that destiny already knows. Whether you believe in God or not, it's not the point now. It's the point that there is some greater knowledge and source of knowledge. You can call blind destiny, coincidence, or some other people call the wisdom of the God who created things, and the creature, and the creator of the creatures. So whatever you think, there is a kind of power behind everything, and this is what my youngest son seems to have in his mind, that if God already knows which one you're going to choose, it's already destiny. And I said, well, if you have the choice to hit someone or not to do, he said, it's destiny. And I said, is that an excuse for not doing the right thing? He said, no. It's important to know the rule and to avoid hitting that person. But in the end, whether you hit him or not will be a chain of reactions. Like if this guy, I mentioned an example with a guy who has been in a very bad environment, but he do good things when he grow up. He changed his life and he find another way, and he helps the woman who had fallen on the street out of there, while the good kid who seems to have good parents, good environment, enough money, education, knowledge, relaxed personality, he just ignored her and walked past that woman on the street. So how can we find these examples in life if we are all determined and destined to be in something? He said, well, even that change that happens to that person is made possible for him with an eye opener, is a kind of a destiny that guides him and shows him the way, gives him the will and strength to change it and to achieve that change in his life. We couldn't really argue against that because that seems also evident that many persons in good environments or bad environments stay there, never change, neither to the good or to the bad, and some do. And what happens inside the psyche and mind of that person that makes him change his will or go chasing something that leads to a bad result, even though he knows it can lead to a bad result. He take the chance and gamble and try to do things that he shouldn't have done, knowing what he knows from that good society. And the other guy, the same story. How does he shift his life to something better and become a different person altogether, find a new way, get rescued? Now, we are not talking about the persons who got saved from drowning or from prison or maybe execution or got a destiny of that kind, because that's a destiny beyond our human understanding at this point in our time and life. It's things that happens to people sometimes that we do not understand. Well, everybody got shot, but this guy survived and the others died. Hundreds in a bad prison, but only that one or two guys survived. What made them survive? And you look at them physically, mentally, you look at some traits that can help you read why they survived and not others. You could maybe find some explanation in their biology, in their mental strength, but if you look at the conditions and the situation, you would probably have said and have given your opinion that they will not survive. The conditions are so harsh, the situation is terrible, to a point that even people with mental strength and biology will be broken down, and death is the certain result. But anyhow, that's what we saw, because we can't explain it, called destiny of a kind outside our reach in a way. But what about the destiny that is within our reach? To change how you are despite who your parents were, because you got some knowledge, education, you took a journey to a master, you traveled and learned about people and humans, you maybe tried to understand how life is working more than your parents ever did. And that insight helped you find the will to change. But not everybody changes because of that insight alone. We know that as well. But we know people get that help, like tools to change and to do better than them before. Like a poor kid from a poor family whose father never mounted to do anything with his life, finds a new way and a new will, stronger will. And you can say it's in the genes of the human DNA that maybe he had this from a grandparent somewhere that gives him the strength so he could break out. I believe personally everything has a scientific explanation, even destiny. I know religious people and some philosophers and some people who are trying to understand life will give these ideas of destiny and choice and free will some kind of mythological and mystical form. It's like they try to tell us, uh, well, it's ununderstandable, it's magical. But even magic is built on a kind of scientific formula. We just don't know it. And that's why we don't understand what magic really is. It's a kind of dimensions and way to manipulate reality or perception. And so it becomes a science when you know enough about it. Even the hidden parts of it, where if you believe in demons affecting humans, or you believe in some kind of beyond our dimension creatures you can contact or be in the reach with. So back to our discussion, I saw how strongly my youngest son, he's not the youngest, but of those two who were at the table, the younger of them, he was very, very strongly and calmly of that conviction, in a way that everything is destiny. He's relaxed. And I said, what about good deeds? What about if you get a choice to do something? Do you do it or not? He said, no, of course I will. I said, like, if you have rules at school, would you follow the rules? And if you didn't have the same rules, what will happen? You will maybe do things you were not doing. If the school said to you, you do not need to enter class, it's not a law. You will not break any laws. You will not be punished. You can choose to enter or stay outside. And he said, well, most kids will stay outside, maybe everyone, because who likes school anyway? And we laughed. We had fun time. And I like this kind of discussion. It's very good for the brain. And I said, but what if another school said, you will break the law, you have to enter on time? He said, then we enter on time. And it's all destiny. Because the destiny is that this school made it like that, and so I'm under these kind of rules, while others has another type of rules, and that's their destiny to have more leisure time. And so he believes everything is already built in a predestined order, in a predestined opportunity. I said, what about the possibilities we get, the changes we do, our conscience of doing or not doing? Have you never been in that moment where you had to choose between doing something and not doing it? And he said, well, of course, but whether I do it or not will all return back to if I'm gonna get the will to change or I'm not gonna get the will to change and do it. What kind of impulses will win over me in the inside, it won't in the end be my choice. He said it's difficult to understand, but he said he thinks that it's like that, that even if he wanna mount up and do the right thing, but if the effects of the negative things are strong enough and he hasn't got the strength to stand against it, or maybe in an impulse somebody does something wrong, he said it will be destiny, because, well, they were never meant to be able to get that will. I said, what about if you ask for it, you try it, you gather your will? Don't you have a space of freedom? And so my elder son also participated in this explanation. He said, well, if you are a weak person and you build yourself up physically, you changed your life already there, because you took measures not to stay weak, but to do something about the things that's not being good for you. And of course, we heard it enough that he's saying even that is destiny, but we said inside that destiny, there seems to be a circle of free will. There seems to be an opportunity, a possibility. And he showed him the inner circle. He said, it's like you've got to choose from time to time, and those choices are yours. And whatever you choose will become the destiny, yes. And a new thing will happen according to what you have chosen. Every little choice could have been different, and it can build you up in another direction, but you can affect that destiny around you. You do not have to surrender to it. And he said, no, who's talking about surrender? He's talking about that in the end, when you look at the results of this effort of changing, building up your life, doing something about it, you will hit a wall of destiny anyway. He said you could build up your body and become a criminal and not a good person, or you become an arrogant person who do wrong to people. So we had difficulty both convincing him of our point of view and expressing the free will. And you see, I really enjoyed that discussion because, as a teacher and as a person who likes people grow around me and see them grow, I loved having that discussion just for the discussion because it opens the mind, it shows tolerance and respect for different opinions. We can react in each our way to that kind of ideas, no problem at all. And it will make us also grow together and have these nice memories as a group who discussed something beyond our understanding. I believe a lot of things are beyond our understanding. That's why we try to explain them with what we know. But because we do not have the full knowledge of what's going on, who have ever mapped the whole humanity's reaction and, let's say, measured it up against DNA, mental capacity, psychological traits, biological, what can you say, biological resources and social, cultural resources. What can we say when we haven't measured? That's why Wittgenstein had this beautiful idea that whatever we don't know, we should not speak of. And there is a lot we don't really know that we speak a lot of. And that's why life doesn't make sense, also in schools and so on. But discussions can be enriching anyway, if we understand that none of us really holds the whole truth because we do not have the whole picture. And so a new dimension was brought in that talk. It's the dimension of the divinity, the religions that talks about God's divinity and clear sight for the humans and like predestination of life, but with an opening of free will inside it. I said, well, okay, this when we talked about this, you said, well, if you want to say that a God has done this and you follow this idea, would you then think that the God is unjust, or why is all this game for? If everything is predestined, and why the punishment? So if you want to say there is a predestination, no problem, but that means you have to also abstain from believing in the punishment for people who really didn't have a choice. You can only be punished when you really, really had a choice. If you are affected by your culture and milieu and problems around you, and you go and you act in a bad way, and you become a soldier in an evil force, or you become a persecutor, an assassin, or part of a gang, or anything, a thief, a person who scares other people, you can say that guy became like that because of things that were around him. If they haven't been there, he wouldn't even have thought of becoming that criminal. It's the pressure, it's the what can you say, desperation. But why doesn't many others become like that? Why this person? Is it because he's prepared for it in his DNA? This is what science is trying to reveal for us about, well, do you inherit your actions, and is it in your DNA to act in a certain way according to your personality traits? Some would say yes, we can see signs of that. And others would say, well, how come that some people who seem normal are actually psychopaths and become criminals, or if they get the chance, they will become the worst nightmare of other people, while others who have been in bad environments, they have actually some goodness in them that grows, and they find a way to show it, or to stay in it, or to change from it. What about those people who stand upon a very difficult decision to shoot or not, and they get an impulse of not to do it, even if it has consequences for them, or not to go along with a plan that can hurt other people or hurt life? So you see, it's not easy to explain destiny, and it's not easy to talk about it. I will advise anybody who likes these topics to try to keep it simple as possible, because no matter what book you open, if it's the book of the Holy Scriptures, or it's a book of science, or a book of magic, or whatever you open, esoteric books, and listen to destiny, you will find some truth mixed with a lot of opinion. and that opinion comes from either two possible poles, ideas. One is determination. Things are already predestined down to the minus level. You are not anywhere in by coincidence, and you will be guided and led to the place where you have to be, and you will meet your destiny no matter where you are, and you will have a choice to act or not, but your destiny will prevail. Your DNA, your weaknesses, your needs, your ego will act against you and make you do the bad thing that will become your destiny, or you will do the good thing and it becomes your destiny. This is determination. Your strong will is nothing. Your free will is not really existing. It's an illusion. On the other side, totally, are people and philosophers, even religious scholars, who claim that God is so just that there is a free will. And if you don't speak about God but science, you would say humans have choices that are true and authentic inside them. And their choices lead to another choices, but they become so entangled in routines and way they do things that they don't see their choices have led them to a bad place. Like a person who do something wrong and end in prison, and the prison is filled with people likewise who have bad conditions, bad traits. This is not destiny. This is a heavy situation, radioactive, full of mud and trouble, that's so overwhelming because everybody around that person has these problems, that he succumb and he surrender to the notion that he doesn't have a choice. Things are already wrong and gone bad. There is no way out. There is no another possibility. He has already chosen something. But the free will supporters will say there is always a choice, even in the most bad person. He will have this notion of pricking conscience, or an idea or an inspiration or some kind of moment of hesitation. And even those who do not hesitate or do not have the drive to change, hesitate to do the bad thing and stay in it, or what can you say, have the drive to change, they will know that they are there because of prior choices that they made with their minds, and in a moment where they said, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna break the law, I'm gonna push the boundaries, I'm gonna go against the pact with the universe, with God, with nature, with the sacred of the other human being, other life. And when you cross over that step, you already get cursed. And when you get cursed, you will be blinded, and then maybe there is no hope left. You're destined to do that. But before, you had a moment. If you look truly into yourself, you will find that you made the choice to go in that direction and to act in that way you acted, and to like choose to say yes or no to a thing that's very crucial in your life. I think many people recognize that as well. So you have these two opposite ideas, and I don't know, maybe this kid of mine will change in the future and become a fervent believer in free speech, in a free will, because he will find that it's no excuse to speak about determination, and the human laws are made to help our conscience make the right decisions most of the time, all of the time. That's because we are making decisions, each one of us, even when we give up our brains to an idea or a group. There are from time to time reminders, and maybe we do never get past any reminders. We will get some kind of pricking from within. If you choose to kill that pricking and you choose to ignore that pain that comes from inside your head and mind, what we call conscience, then you have made a choice to kill the voice that's trying to help you back to that free will, the good path of changing. So you see, there is these two opportunities, and I don't know, maybe he will become a fervent believer. But we had really a trouble giving examples that could hold, because he understands that people make choices and they make them of their own will, but he says it's all part of the whole thing that is a destiny from the beginning. You can't get out of it, you can't escape it. So we are not really in a situation where our will and decisions are made without any kind of what can you say, any kind of no, what's the word, that we're not making the decisions without any disconnected to everything else. Our choices are connected to a lot of things that will affect them. The effect, yeah, they will be affected by that thing, and maybe we do it right, maybe we do it wrong. So it's not a coincidence, and it's a kind of thing that is already in a system. We have just to understand it and live it and take whatever we have inside us with it. And so now, what do I mean about these things? I don't really know, and I will repeat again and again. I believe in the duality of life and the paradox of things. It can be both or all three ideas at once, the predetermination, the free will, and the third option of being both at the same time. Some things are determined, some things are free will. And it can also be a fourth, that is, whoever set this life in motion with all its details, whether it's a coincidence of nature and whatever people might say about that, or it is a God who pushed it on, and whatever people want to say about that, there could be this possibility that you are both determined and free. And there where you have the free moments is there where you're asked to do the right choice. And if you become weak, there is a salvation. So that could be, if some God or things are like that, there is a salvation, there is a redemption, there is a way out within yourself. We know that from people who've done terrible, terrible things and find space in prison or under torture or something else to redeem themselves and to look back at what they've really done. And maybe you find in some of them that true reconnection with their feelings and their conscience, and say, this is absolutely terrible what I've done, and I have to do it right. I have to change it. I have to fix it. So there is this possibility of people losing the track, getting predetermined to do these things because of their conditions, but they are given mercy and redemption in the same measure as the troubles. Like the example with the good and bad kid. When the good kid with a relaxed environment and good parents, money, education, understanding, does not rush to help the old lady, he will maybe be under strengther, what can you say, judgment and consequence than the kid who rushed despite everything, saying to him, I don't care about that lady, I have troubles enough in my life, she didn't feel my pain, what do I care about her or others anyway? But he did it, he did rush. And so because he could win in a very tough circumstance, it's like Camus said, it's not about the miles, it's not about who gets to the mountain and win the prize. It's about what kind of journey you've had to get there. So if you're an athlete from a family of athletes and a lot of wealth, and you had the academies to train in, and you had trainers to help you, and you had the right shoes and the right clothing and the right help, this is no wonder that you will reach the top. It's difficult enough. But what about the person who didn't have all these things and anyway takes the journey and maybe reaches the top, maybe not? This person is more worth in God's eye, if you believe in a God, or in life's eye anyway, because this person had a much tougher journey to take to make the change, to get to the top of the mountain. And you can say it's all predetermined, but with that space of free will that you suddenly find the inspiration. I believe in destiny, and I believe things can be pre-written, but they are also changeable. They're also changeable. There are unwritten pages in our life as well. So I believe in that paradox of things both written but can be changeable. We can affect it the other way in a moment of clarity, in a moment of strength, in a moment where we get our life back. We can ask for support. If you are a religious person, you will ask heavens, God, pray for the change to come, for the will to make the change, for the will to take the journey. If you do not believe in a God in any way, you will find yourself asking some inner strength in you, the universe outside you, the powers of life and how it works, to help you see clear and win and get through with whatever you want. So we try to find the source that will help us. And that's an effect. That's a way to change what could have been predestined and pre-written. But then you ask the question, does God know the end result? Well, all major religions will tell you, yes, a true God, knowledgeable, wise God will know the result. He is the complete, all knowledgeable type of God who will not wait, who doesn't need to wait. He will already know what kind of choices you will make out of your conditions and your situation. And then that God will have the power to redeem you, forgive you or not, even if you've ended up like a criminal or a bad person. Nobody is ever lost in God's eyes unless they want to be. This is the answer of the major religions. Don't blame your destiny. Do your best, even if it's a small grain of will and intention. And nobody is ever lost in God's realm and power, because, well, God knows this is a horrible situation these humans have been put in, or there is something wrong with the psyche of that person because of the DNA that went wrong, that wasn't perfect. If a God doesn't know that, he's not worth our worshipping, and that type of God is not a true God, but a false one, a devil of a kind, a player, a God who's just damaging us and playing with us. So, at the same time, if you do not believe, or if you do not believe in a God, and you say, well, if I believe everything is predetermined, well, what am I here for? Am I just a dummy in a game? Somebody is pushing around. You could believe that, and there are people who believe that they are being pushed around by some hidden players, somebody who can see us but we can't see them. And whenever they want the game to get more and more funny, they push some agents, some people around to disturb, to light a fire, to make a conflict, to let people fight. And then they find the fun in that. And we are actually just passive actors in it, even though we think we are active. When we react on our impulses of anger or hunger or need, and we go hit somebody or steal something or do something challenging, run away from the law and so on, we're not doing it because we want to. We're doing it out of a kind of strange blind impulse. I know people have felt that, and there have been interviews with people who ended up in prison who said, I really didn't know what I was doing at that exact moment. Even people who have been predators, like hurting other people, they say, in that exact moment I was blind. And we read it as an excuse. It's like, oh yeah, they're trying to apologize for their deeds with being blinded or not knowing what they were doing. But a lot of accounts shows that could be true. There is a psychic break, a psychological break, sorry, not a psychic, but a psychological break in their minds. And that's what some call psychopathology of those who study psychology. I'm not an expert in these things, but I believe I've heard enough to know that it's a kind of pathological situation where they are not in contact with their feelings and conscience and their own, their own will. They are not driving their bodies and minds. They are being driven by some blind force inside them. And so at that moment, people say, I really don't know what went into me. I went with those friends and things just happened. And it's like we were in it, we couldn't stop it. And I was somewhere conscious of I shouldn't be here, or I shouldn't participate in that. But I don't know, I couldn't break free of it. I've heard these stories from young people who ended in prison, and we read it also in stories about these kind of humans who you could really say, is that possible? But it is, it seems possible. So if you don't believe in a God who will be merciful and redemptive, you believe that when you wake up, you can believe in this life, its powers, that when you wake up from that determination, you will be able to correct. All right, we went and we took some stuff and we broke some windows. We go and make it right again. We go and confess. We take our punishment for it, or we get help to get over it again. So it seems like things can be predetermined. We are like inside a game. Somebody else is controlling, and suddenly they start a fire, a conflict, a flood, a problem. Things are always rolling. It's a hostile environment. They put us in our conscience. They put us in bodies that are fragile and can be hurt easily. We don't have claws, we don't have night vision, we don't have strength to fight all the other animals, not even nature. But we have to find a way to do so with the only biggest and most dangerous equipment we've got, that's our brains. And the way we can think in deep and fantasize and understand can make us break free of the current situations. So it's like we've been given tools to get free of our destiny, to get free of the destiny of life as all. And we do not find it by just sitting and talking or observing, but to go inside us and get in contact with our feelings and the soul. It's like through the soul and that thing that's alive inside us, that we can find a way out. You can call it hallucination, fantasy, if you are an atheist or materialist. It's okay, it's your right to call it that, because that's your perception. But it's like the way is from the inside, so through that kind of way out, to say this is not everything. Reality is not real. It's an illusion. It's a kind of a game. I'm just here in this body, in this awareness, because of something else. I don't know what it is. I can't remember it, but this is not really me. If you start feeling like that, that means, according to really many clever philosophers, gurus, religious scholars, that you are being awakened. You do not perceive reality out of that passive way of, oh, I'm destined, everything around me is just as it is. There is something you can push back, you can do about, you can get in contact with your soul and find the way out. You can find the open door in that darkness and the way out of the tunnel. Reach out, keep trying. And that's what we see in some people when they get that. But then the big question my kid was getting back to, who made that possible in the beginning, in the first place, for that person who made the invention or broke out of his lifestyle and changed it, who made it possible for him or her to get in touch with their inner energy, soul, so they can keep believing in themselves and keep believing there is a way out, and being resilient and looking positive at even the worst situations they are facing. And can everybody do that? Most of us would say no. We've seen many people break under torture, injustice, hopeless situations. And there is a guy called Viktor Frankl who wrote a book about his observations in prison during the Nazi camps in Europe. And he was in prison too, and he saw these people in despair, and some of them acting animalistically against each other, hurting others, trying to do stuff they shouldn't and wouldn't have done in normal situations. Others who got mad or had a weak will to keep going. They lost the will to keep in touch with the reality. But he found one thing that every human still had, and that's the inner choice of whether to give in or not. It's like everybody had the choice, whether you're weak or strong, you give in or not, you have it. It's there with you, the choice to act even in the most hopeless situations where you are in total despair and you have no way out. And he saw that is the will to love or hate. And he said, we have been in situations where we looked at our imprisoners and the people who hated us and punished us and guarded us there. We could have looked at them with hatred and wanting to kill them back, and that's very natural. But the will to overcome that and stay human by keeping the view of love, um, loveness for everything around you was the strength he ended his book, small book, with. It's a good book, Man and His Search for Meaning. That will to find the meaning in love as an ideal, as a love for God, as a love for life, for yourself even, so you do not become like the torturer. I hope and wish I never get in that situation, but if destiny is going to bring me there, I will have to remember all these things, and I will have to have the will to go on. I don't know, I hear about some people say when they get to those situations, they actually find the inner will in themselves, and it becomes stronger and clearer than it will be when I'm just sitting here and everything is more normal in a way. You will find another sharpness in your senses when you talk to yourself, when you try to find solutions, make the meaning out of what's going on, and you will find a sweeter compensation. I've heard that from several people, and also people who got accused for things they have not done or been imprisoned because of political ideology or religious convictions and so on. They say it's like we found a strength we didn't know we had, and we found a light that kept us going. Our memories grew. But it doesn't happen to everyone, seemingly, because we know also of people who broke down, and that's maybe because they didn't have that source strong enough inside them beforehand, so they were not prepared for it. They didn't know they could use it. Well, that will conclude the talk about destiny and its headache. And my advice to everyone, don't spend your life chasing the solution of the mystery of destiny. Just go on, live your life. That's what I told the kids. Say, don't use a lot of time on this. Bigger brains than us and people with a lot more time, spending whole lifetime writing, reading, everything there is about these issues, couldn't find any new answer than those we've been putting forward. It's either kind of biology or it's a kind of predestined mystery, or it is a kind of free will and a paradox and so on. So whatever you say, we are limited, and also in our knowledge and information. So go on, live your life, surrender, but keep fighting. Surrender, fighting. It's like you can push that destiny back. You can ask for it to change. You can talk to your inner self to make it happen. And if you're a believer, like I am, and know there is a God, you can ask angels who will come, demons who will help. Then ask the hidden sources and resources outside yourself for things to change. I don't know, I've tried it in my life. It happened. I've been in very blackish situations in my life where I thought this is not good. This is not gonna be a good ending. And I, in a spur of a moment, found myself standing with my head high, looking up, and my hands up, and totally in absolute surrender, asking the one true creator, say, you and only you can get me out of this. And like a magic, it happened to me twice actually, and one of these two times, it like a magic, in a few weeks, an opening of a position and a good work and income came to me out of nothing. And I didn't really believe it could happen and it could be so easy. So I saw the magic of that kind of changing destiny, and it took us on a destiny. Everything is a destiny. Wherever you step is leading you to a kind of destiny, but that's a different one than you would have faced in the other line. And maybe that's where we are blinded, because I asked so much, things changed. But maybe if I didn't ask for it to change and just accepted it, Maybe another better thing would have opened after it, or maybe it would have been the end. But it will never be the end before it is the true end. You know what I mean? It's like if you are predestined to live something true, whether you pray for it or not, you push it back or not, it will come to you in different shape. You just change the line. Because we know there are so many possibilities for destiny. From the moment you're born, you know, if things happens around you in a certain way, it's already putting you on a track that could have been different. The school you get to go to, the kind of friends you get to meet, and so on, it could have been a different type, and so on and so on. So, yeah, well, I have seen the power of pushing back on destiny, not because we break free of it, but because we have some kind of inner will and drive to say, I will change this in myself. I will try to reflect on why things are going wrong when I do this and that. Because everything is a science, but most of the time it's hidden science, so we call it religion, or God's will, or destiny, because we don't know how it works, that's all. But I believe in a God who is scientific, a God who has already created everything according to measures of precision, wisdom, total knowledge. But we don't know it. And it seems so complicated that we get lost in our own minds, saying it's God's punishment, it's a kind of blind destiny, it's kind of randomness. But if we knew everything, every little tiny detail about how DNA affects the current situation, and how the earth is spinning, where the stars are in the skies, and who's meeting who, and what will happen if destiny lets you go that way and meet that person, how that will affect this and that. If we knew every little detail, we would really be godly enlightened. But we are not. We are so limited, even though we have brilliant big brains, only using a small capacity of it, as I understand from brain psychologists and neuropsychologists and brain doctors. They say we do not really use the capacity of our brain. So we are lost in that, and I believe it's maybe just as my kid said. It's very simple. Everything is a destiny. Surrender to it, but go do what you need to do, knowing totally that nothing is gonna happen without that destiny already knew that it will appear or show up or change at this at that time. And why? That's what we don't know, because we don't know the whole picture. How? We don't really know that either, because we don't know the details of what's affecting what's giving me the strength and will in that exact moment. What would have happened if I had it a moment ago and not now, a year ago and not now, and so on. But I believe also that whoever made this made it so we can push back. That's what my other son said. He said you can affect it back by training hard, by having your focus on it, by changing. A lot of things in us, it's just laziness, or not really, we do not focus, not have the will. That's why it doesn't change, and then we blame destiny. This is what he basically said to him, and that's a clever thing to say, wise things to say as well. So I see they agreed, but they still kept each his own perspective on this issue, and they reminded me of what's going on outside us, in the world, in universities, between scholars, between religions, science and religion, between atheists and what can you say, spiritualists, and so on. It's the same exact perspectives on what we think is going on and happening, and how much we believe in the one force or the other one. Our free will. We would like to always believe that it's us. We're doing it. Nobody's doing it for us. We can change. We can even wrestle the gods, fight them. Doesn't matter. We are here to win. And the others who say we can never win, we are under a kind of such strong will that it's better to surrender and just accept and do the things we are allowed to do, and not push the borders for what we are not meant to do and cry over it. Yeah, well, I kept going because this question of destiny has really occupied me a lot and still occupies me. And so when the discussion came up, I thought we were going to speak about karma and actions, and to watch what you do. because it affects the results. But I had this young man who actually doesn't do a lot of bad things. He's not like out doing wrong things, because he believes in following the law and doing good things and not hurting others and being nice to people and have a good heart. He believes that a lot. But at the same time, he's a very, very quiet believer and relaxed believer in, even if he's going to do wrong, he's only going to do it because a destiny is going to force him or make him go blind or do something, because he would never do it out of his free will, out of his consciousness, you know. While the other kid was focused on, well, a lot of things you don't choose, but within the limits of what you can choose, you can push back. You can walk the miles, you can fight harder, you can keep going, you can ask for help, and so on. And my personal belief is that it's a duality, complex duality, with a lot of hidden information we don't know, scientific information, and it's a paradox. That means we can't explain it. It's a double-sided, multiple-sided. But what we know from experience is what the kids said. Accept whatever, wherever, however, but keep pushing, keep changing, keep doing the things, keep looking into what did I go wrong. And that's why we believe people who like tried to build something and failed, they looked at what went wrong and fixed it. This is not blind destiny. It's neither free will. It's a kind of applying what we know we can apply in our life, and that is a destiny as well. It's already given. It's like a computer game. You're already in it. You can build and do, but the materials, the way it works, is already given by the creator of the game. You cannot go in and change the mods of how it works and which way you can win and lose. You just have to figure it out. And when you figure it out, you will become the inventor or the preacher or the guy who have success or die trying. That's also a great possibility for many people. Maybe they will be back in another shape or form, another space, and try again. Who knows? Maybe it's a cycle of game after game, level after level. We just don't know. We are in a certain game, certain level at this time. I like this idea a lot, and it also sheds good light on the subject of destiny. If you look at it as a video game or a computer game, AI game, whatever, and you're totally inside it and you have these figures and you cannot break free of the rules that's already put up there. You can cheat, you can find cheat codes, you can sneak a virus and so on to accelerate your rate or find a back door to get to a higher level. All right, this can happen in the game, but you cannot fundamentally, what can you say, change it, or can you? I think we're going to be able to more and more, and that's what gives us also a new philosophical idea of being able to affect reality as a whole, to go in and find the back door to how it's created and change it, and change how the humans are and behave and work in it. And in a way, some will see it as a challenge of the way God wants things or did it, and others would see, well, God does not oppose improvement. Why not? If we can improve the conditions of the game, the rules, the whatever is made out there to work in a certain way, why not? If we can shelter ourselves from winds, rain, the sun, or direct it so it gives more here, less there, or whatever we can do, if we can tilt the earth up again so it gets much balanced between summer and winter. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be able to send some spaceships and a long rod, and they will affect the magnets inside the earth, and it will start changing its shape and direction. Why not possible? Why not dream that this could be? Maybe one day we will get rid of all diseases and we will be able to cure all human minds, so nobody wants without damaging them, of course. So nobody wants to do evil or bad things to others, and everybody will have enough, and we will be able to find the right measures for how people can be satisfied and accepting and communicating and going in a pragmatic way about their business and finding solutions. Maybe we'll be able to do that one day. Why not? Why shouldn't be possible for the human science to understand the godly science? I don't see that as opposing to a god in any way. It's just an improvement on the game. But anyhow, as long as we are in the game, bound by it, and it reacts on us, to us in a certain way, we have to play by the rules. Whenever we don't play by the rules, things go wrong. We see it with civilizations, with nature, we see it with human conditions and societies. If we let the garbage in the streets, the rats will come and they bring the viruses with them. So we learned long ago the idea of sanitation and cleanness, and to keep the sewers underground and to fight the rats in good time. Why not? We have to do it, to play according to the game in order for the humankind to prevail. The same with science. We have to find how things work and apply them. When we apply them right, they work right. And so there is a side to us that makes us believe we have a free will. We're doing things because we can affect how nature grows, where to find resources, how to gain them. Even when we fight each other, well, it's like playing chess, and it's like playing Stratego, and it's like putting a whole game together and looking at how did the others do it before us and what made them win. The rules of war and so on. Yeah, well, in everything anyway. So destiny is bound, seems to be, by some kind of rules, regulations, conditions we can affect. And there is where our free will comes in. If you fight your condition, suddenly the doors open and say, wow, you did it, you got through. Or you die trying, like a mice or a rat in the trap, or because you didn't do it right. And maybe you get a chance to go back and try again with that kind of experience that's hidden inside you without you knowing it. So you get back and you become a better person with more experience, and now you can do it right. You don't understand why and how you're doing it right, but it's because of former experiences you got with you. That's why I like the idea of some old people I know. I tell them sometimes, you are over 80 and you keep going to stuff. You go studying and you go listening and you go trying to understand more about the world situation. Haven't you had enough of that, or learned enough? And whenever you hear about a new conference, about something interesting, you rush to it, or a new painting and art and so on. And he and his wife laughed and they said, well, I don't know how they explained it, but in a way it's like they believe this is gonna be a treasure they take with them to their next life. The level of competence, understanding, knowledge doesn't end with what you're gonna use it for. And if you get out of the workforce, well, your life has to stagnate. No, it's like keep improving, keep learning, keep taking the experiences up to the last moment, because all that will somehow benefit you. And I don't understand the idea they're saying, but now maybe while talking, I get this notion that maybe that's what it's about. It's about not stagnating in your life, because that will be lack of experience for the next level or the next game or the next tryout. Sorry for being late, but doesn't matter, not speaking to anyone really. I always have the hope that someone will get the benefit of what I'm saying here and find it both inspiring, amusing, and good to listen to. But as you see, my destiny at this moment and those years, and that's good for me, because I don't want the attention. I'm not clever enough, I'm not knowledgeable enough, and I don't want to have an audience or people who are going to follow what I'm saying, because what am I saying? I will lead people astray and I will take them in wrong directions. But I like to be part of something that inspires from the point where I am and the abilities that I have to speak and combine ideas and juggle them like I'm doing, and trying to play ping pong with one side and the other, and look at perspectives, open perspectives for humans who maybe might need it or wanna go into this issue but don't have an introduction to it. And what you find online is most of the time dry, bad introductions of people just referring to something, you get lost into it, or they're speaking about things in terms and ways that it becomes too technical. So why not? It's my participation to nobody right now. Maybe that's good, but I don't know why. I have a deep belief that one day it will become good for somebody. At least I'm trying, huh? And then I might die trying, and nobody will ever listen to it. Doesn't matter either, because at least it gave me not only the satisfaction but also the improvement in how to think about these issues, how to relate them, and how to try and pass them on in a certain way. Goodbye.